My name's Leon Sayers. I am the Regional Consulting Practice Lead for Unisys across APAC. So I run the whole consulting team across digital workspace, infrastructure, security, and applications and analytics. So for me it was a long journey. I started as a trainer and then I moved into IT and became a network engineer and then a server engineer and then became an IT manager before CIOs and CTOs existed in government. And then I went through Y2K, which just shows how old I am. And then after I worked in the public sector, I moved out into a startup, worked with a startup for a little while, and then ran my own consulting practice for about 13 years. And for me, it's really about taking that kit, and then I joined Unisys about 3 years ago. For me, it's about being able to give people the experience of not just here's a technology and now use it. It's about giving them or empowering them to make decisions on what's best for their business and outcome, what's best for their customers and consumers, and making sure that all the people are going to be impacted by that technology change are touched and involved in the process, because that's how you get a successful transformation or a digital project. It's not about here's technology, now use it. It's about involving them in the process and getting them to adopt it and use it as best as possible. So innovation is critical, because for me it's like the health industry has gone through their own version of a big bang, if you like. So it's gone from health industry is not just about the hospitals, the doctors, it's also around health now is also people wearing wearables, interested in their own health. They want to know what their records are, they want to know how to better serve themselves. We also have a generation shift. So we now got new generations of people coming through where they're used to technology, they're born with technology, not like when I was a kid, we didn't have technology, it was get out on your bike and ride, not play computer games and iPhones and iPads. But now the technology is at everyone's fingertips. Everyone can access anything, everything, all the time, anytime. So realistically, the health industry has to catch up. We also have this massive consumer market where you have Apple, Samsung, Garmin, all these companies creating IoT devices, wearables, things that are capturing data around people. We also have medical companies creating things like insulin pumps, blood sugar monitoring that is 24/7, self-adjusting capabilities that need to be incorporated in the health system. Health no longer is just about what happens in a hospital or a doctor's surgery or a pathology. It's also what's happening around them and all the technology that's now growing rapidly in the consumer space. So Unisys brings to the table a security up perspective. Unisys has a strong background in security. We work with defence departments across the globe, and we also work with health agencies just as critically across the globe. So we're bringing both our security knowledge from working with defence and private sectors, etc., and around making sure the data is secure, but also taking that user-consumer orientation as well around making sure the experience that the customer gets, whether it's a patient, doctor, nurse, is the best that it can be. So that's what we're bringing to the table. And yes, we're a technology company, yes, we can talk technology, but it's also around making sure that user experience is as good and secure as possible. So from a public sector perspective, some of the biggest challenges they have is budget. So every year the government either cuts their budgets, wants them to switch from CapEx to OpEx. It's really government working out the best way to spend the money they have to spend. And from a public perspective, the public is becoming much more critical on how governments are spending money. So it's really a balancing act for the government around how can they spend their money the most cost-effective way and get the most benefit from it. That's the biggest challenge they have going to market today, as well as adding the security component to it. Governments are so under the microscope now around how they're securing data, especially with what's happening in Europe, the US, GDPR, it's all about who owns the data, how do they secure the data and keep people intact. The round table was pretty good. We just had the feedback and interactions with all the different members of the team. It was a pretty big group that showed up in the room, which was good, and all the different perspectives that people were bringing to the table around what makes a project successful, but also the challenges they're facing in their projects today. So being able to impart some wisdom and some experiences that I've had, and being able to listen to some of the experiences that they brought to the table, that was pretty key for me.